A group of long-term forestry investors fear their investments have been squandered in light of the closure of a Whanganui sawmill earlier this week. The Waverley sawmill was partly owned by a group of investors who put $13 million into several forestry syndicates in the 80s and 90s, managed by another Whanganui company, Arbor Management. The plan was to buy land, plant trees and harvest them decades later with the prospect of a 5 or 10-fold return. But more than 20 years later, investors are yet to receive a cent, and a failure to file accounts in some cases since 2016 is ringing alarm bells. Some unit holders have complained to the Financial Markets Authority, but Arbor blames not filing records on flawed mixed-age forest valuation methodology and a continuing sales process for the syndicated forestry assets. The McCashin brewing family have pulled out of buying into NZX-listed pub owner Veritas Investments, forfeiting a $50,000 deposit. The option to buy a 19.9% stake from former Veritas Executive Director Michael Morton was due to expire on March 29. Neither Mr Morton nor the McCashins disclosed any reason for not completing the deal, and it's understood the company has not sought information from Veritas to conduct due diligence. The option was for the purchase of 8.6 million shares at 20 cents or 1.7 million in total, a substantial premium to the 11-cent share price at the time. Well, National leader Simon Bridges says its strategy is simple: to relentlessly oppose a capital gains tax. Mr Bridges questions why the government won't give its view of the tax working group findings until April, despite having had the report since early February, which was a couple of weeks before making it public. He adds National's criticism has forced both the working group chairman, Sir Michael Cullen, and Finance Minister Grant Robertson to revise that approach.
What you've got is a slightly different environment than 2018, and that for the government in 2018 it was all working group and vague nice intentions around wellbeing, kindness. That works for a time, but now we're seeing these working groups report back and the chickens are coming home to roost. New Zealand is a fair-minded people, but this will be, as the Prime Minister herself has said, the year of delivery. People are going to want to see delivery.
Westpac has agreed to settle with journalist Nicky Hager and apologise for handing his sensitive banking data to the police in 2014. The bank was asked in September 2014 by police as part of its investigation into the dirty politics leaks for more than 10 months of Mr Hager's bank transactions. The police did not have a warrant or production order for that information and falsely stated that he was being investigated for fraud. In June last year, the police apologised to Mr Hager and admitted that they had no basis for that accusation. The police also accepted that their request for data from Westpac had been unlawful. A statement by Westpac says at the time the bank's practice was to comply with such requests in the belief that it was entitled to do so under the Privacy Act. It says it's now implemented a new procedure for dealing with police requests. A surge in social and digital media showcasing beauty products has seen Australian cosmetics retailer Mecca transform itself into an anchor tenant in New Zealand in little over a decade. Unlike other retail sectors where digital sales channels are increasingly dominant, cosmetics chains are still seeing huge growth in sales through physical stores. Mecca's first New Zealand presence was a small store in Ponsonby in 2007, but the company has spread aggressively since then, particularly in the past few years. It now has 13 shops nationwide and a 300 square metre Botany Downs store on the way. French cosmetic mega chain Sephora is also moving into the New Zealand market, having reportedly signed a lease for a central Auckland store. To tomorrow, Tim Hunter's column investigates the sickness in our health funding after district health boards were accused of financial mismanagement. So for more on that and other stories, just head to nbr.co.nz.